Hi guys! Today I'm going to show you how to make hoagie buns or hoagie rolls, whatever you like to call it. These buns or rolls are really great for wet sandwiches such as meatball subs or French dips. Plus there are some other recipes of mine where they really come in handy. And they're even great to have on hand after the holidays such as Thanksgiving to make turkey sandwiches. To start off, you're going to need a cup of warm water, a bit of sugar, and 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. To start, you'll also need a large bowl. We're just going to begin by pouring the warm water into the bowl along with the yeast and just a touch of sugar. We're going to give it a whisk and then let it sit for about 10 minutes so that the yeast can activate, forming that foam and bubbles. So now go ahead and let it sit for about 10 minutes like I said. Our yeast has been activating for 10 minutes now, so now we're going to move on to the next step. For the next step, you'll need a 1/2 cup of warm water, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, but I'm using melted butter instead, 2 tablespoons of white sugar, and 4 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour or bread flour. What we're going to do is add all these ingredients to the bowl with the yeast. Then we'll begin mixing them together, and then we'll start kneading it until it forms a smooth dough. You can also do this with a stand mixer using a dough hook, but I prefer to do it by hand. Now that I have a shaggy dough, I'm going to go ahead and flour my surface and turn it out onto the surface so that we can begin kneading it. Here we have our dough that's been kneaded, and I'm going to go ahead and oil the bowl that it was in and return it to that bowl and let it rise until it's doubled in size, which is about 1.5 hours. And we'll go ahead and leave this covered with a kitchen towel. So we're going to go ahead and turn it back out to a floured surface and start dividing it up into 12 to 16 pieces. I'm going to be dividing my dough into 12 pieces. How I'm going to do that is cut a V into the dough, and it usually creates 3 equal pieces or close enough to, and then I'll cut those 3 pieces into 4 pieces. So how we're going to make the hoagie shape is we're going to flatten this into a rectangle. I'll show you how. And then we're going to roll it up like a cinnamon roll, but we're going to be rolling it up long ways though. So for reference, this would be like the short way and this would be the long way. I get those confused sometimes. I don't know if anyone else does. That's why I'm just clarifying. Okay, so you can see I kind of have a rectangular shape, and then we'll just start rolling it up. And then we'll just tuck both of the ends under. And of course we want to be keeping the hoagie seam down. It honestly kind of looks like a little sausage or hot dog. And we'll just keep doing that to all 12 of them. You can use a rolling pin for this if you wanted. Now that we have all of our hoagies shaped, we're going to go ahead and put them on 2 baking sheets, possibly 3, either greased or lined with parchment paper. I lined mine with parchment paper. Remember, we want to lay these seam side down, so the seam being the little line from where we rolled it up. Here's what this pan looks like, and it does look like I'll be able to use just 2 pans. Sometimes when I make larger hoagie rolls, I have to put more spacing in between the rolls, so I have to use 3 pans, sometimes 4, depending on how much dough I have. There's about 1 inch to 1.5 inches spacing in between the rolls. Now we're going to go ahead and cover these with a kitchen towel again and let them rise for another 30 minutes. Now that the hoagie rolls are done rising for a second time, we're going to use a bread lame to cut a slit from end to end in the hoagie rolls, or if you prefer, you can do the 3 diagonal lines across the bread. If you don't have a bread lame, you can use a very sharp knife. Just make sure you use a very light hand and don't press too hard on the bread. For this next part, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of milk and 1 egg white. We're going to mix them together in a bowl and then brush them on top of each of the rolls. It looks messy, but just trust the process. We're now going to place these in the oven to bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes or until they're golden brown. Obviously, larger hoagie rolls are going to take longer to bake and smaller ones will take less time. Now that our bread is done, we want to transfer it to some cooling racks and we'll let it sit there for 15 minutes to cool. And here we have our hoagie rolls, or buns. Thank you guys for watching. If you happen to like this video or found it interesting, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave those below in the comments section. Bye y'all.